We had no idea what we were doing when we first started homesteading, but lucky for you, we documented all of it. The wins, the fails, the what were we thinking moments. Since then, we've sharpened our skills mostly by doing things the hard way. Today, we're looking back at some of our earliest videos to talk about what we'd do differently if we knew then what we know now. Stick around to the end. We're doing another giveaway and we'll tell you exactly how to enter. So before we roast our past selves, we have to move our pigs one more time before they head to the butcher next weekend. So if you're new here, we started documenting our homesteading journey in 2020 with a dream and no clue what we were doing. After a couple years, we moved to a neighborhood, went through a divorce, but found our way back to each other and to the land. Now we're here with our 4 boys doing things a little bit differently. Now the first thing I see here is our first chicken coop. Now I built this thing from the ground up and I didn't use a level. I didn't use hardly any professional equipment. It was very sketchy. Some 4x4 posts in the ground. I hooked it right to the side of our shed. Now we had a decent source of wood chips at the time, but not enough to where we could really do the deep bedding method where it kind of composts on itself and you can actually use the final product. Since then, we've really learned that chickens need to be mobile. They're more happy that way. It's healthier that way because they're not sitting in their own manure all the time. Sheep too, those were our first 2 sheep and we didn't eat them. We just raised them as pets because when you get a homestead, you want to raise every animal that there is and they don't necessarily all have a purpose. That was another thing that we've changed since then is that every animal has a purpose. Oh my gosh, this was terrible. So we had, I think, 100 Cornish cross chickens, raising them for meat, and they all got out. We had not figured out the electric netting at this point. I don't know if we just didn't understand electricity or what it was, but that was terrible. One thing we definitely improved with this situation is figure out how to ground your fencing. And I don't think we even had the right netting for chickens. Premier One makes a lot of different electric fencing for different animals and they're all built a little bit differently. Yeah, it just didn't have the charge. So it didn't keep them in. They were all getting out and we didn't have a great mobile chicken tractor solution at the time. The one we had, I think it was just crazy heavy and it wasn't ideal for us to be moving it around daily, which is really what you need to do. If you're raising 10 birds, it's all right if they all get out, but 100 is like, that's a total nightmare. Luckily, we had the kids to help us. So we try not to feed a ton of grain to the pigs just because it's not the most healthy for us when we end up eating them. We try to raise them on as much forage as possible, and because they're headed to the butcher next weekend, we want to make sure that they're finished on plenty of grass and plenty of forage. Over time, we've become very fond of the old saying, work smarter, not harder. It's not about doing everything right the first time, it's about making small changes every year to make future you more efficient than the old you. This was actually cool. So we definitely had a few years where we raised the birds, we did all of the processing, we had invested in a ton of equipment to be able to do it ourselves. Since then, we've actually paid to have them processed, and there's a part of me that feels guilty about that because I do like being a part of the process. But don't put too much pressure on yourself, especially when you're raising that many animals to feel like you have to do it all yourself. There's nothing wrong with relying on a pro to get it done quickly and save you the time. Oh, that's Brianna, about 6 months pregnant. That was another thing. That was such a tough year because she was very limited in what she could do around the homestead. So I had to take on a lot of that work myself, and honestly, I think that's the year I got super burnt out with it. So many animals, so much going in the garden. The garden was another thing. We really hadn't done any research into mending your soil or even knowing what your soil type was. I think we had someone locally deliver some dirt, and the only thing that we even knew at the time or thought was the right thing to do was order pH balanced soil. I remember asking the guy like, hey, is this pH balanced? And he was like, yep, sure is. I'm pretty sure he just delivered straight up sand. We took on so much at once and we never really mastered a single thing. We just had a lot of failure. So I think there's a huge benefit to slowing down, figuring out exactly what steps you need to take. What do you want to master this year? Oh, I do miss keeping bees. I don't miss that though. It took a sting to the eye. That was terrible. Brianna and I were talking recently about getting bees again, because that was something that was super rewarding and unique, and having pollinators around is great for the garden and really everything. Ooh, that was close. All right. Got it? It's now 50 cents a beetle. All right, so 50 cents a beetle that you can throw in those buckets. You find the beetle, it has to be a Japanese beetle. You put it in the bucket, and at the end of the day, you collect 50 cents. It's a very simple system. You cannot cheat the system. Do not attempt to cheat it. This was a system developed by my grandfather and his father before him. Make sure we're checking. I think you'll have good luck if you check the squash over here. Oh yeah, I'm feeling good about this. Check the cucumbers too. So we just had a real heavy rain, but I wanted to come out to the garden and check everything out. You can see the tomatoes back there looking awesome. There's so many of them on here. There's probably 50 or 60 tomatoes. I haven't counted them, but if I did, it'd be 50 to 60. The carrots kind of fell over in the rain here, but they're looking mucho bueno. Now, if you really squint and turn your head, you can see some English cucumbers coming in here. They're extremely small right now. I sure hope they get bigger. Oh, they're starting.
All right, so we were really excited about peppers this year, and I've only been able to really grow like just teeny little green peppers. So this year we tried really hard with the peppers. Unfortunately, in West Michigan, this spring was really wonky. We had a heat wave early in the spring, and then it got really cold. So a lot of our pepper plants, if you can see this one here, you can tell that there was like a weird gap of growth, but now I can see a lot of blooms and a lot of little peppers coming on the plant. So I did not think these were gonna work this year because of the weird weather, but I think we can take a deep breath and we will have peppers. We've had a couple of good batches of tomatoes throughout the years in our growing seasons, but this year tops all of them. Cameron has poured so much into these tomatoes, and he comes out here multiple times a day and is just very meticulous in particular with his tomatoes, and I'm just really proud of how great they turned out this year, and I've just never seen tomatoes like this in my life. So I feel very blessed and happy that I get to mow all these puppies down this year. I am just so thrilled how far we've come. This year especially has just been super successful, and with a little bit of knowledge, reading, and just a little bit of research, our garden is booming this year. We are excited to announce that we have pumpkins growing. Last year we tried to grow pumpkins and they got annihilated by rabbits, and we had surveillance cameras on the garden, and each night we would wake up to like chunks and stems of our pumpkins missing, and each day it would just get shorter and shorter. So when we would look on the camera, we found it was a rabbit. So this year, praise God, we have our pumpkins. And we're fall people, so this is like a really big deal.
Again, not wasting anything. The chickens love all of our garden scraps and all of our weeds, and it's free food. So you saw last week we moved the chickens over to this area here with a netting around them. Quick update, we are starting to get a lot more eggs now, which was the goal. So I think something that we realized as we look at this old footage is the biggest mistake we made was trying to scale way too fast, especially for a couple of first years. We kind of romanticized this idea of having this big, beautiful farm, beautiful homestead, all in 1 year. And it made us take on too many different things at once. And ultimately, when you take on too much at once, you're not increasing your your efficiency, you're not increasing your yield, you're just increasing your rate of failure, which is what happened to us, and we failed at a lot of things before we started slowing down and learning each thing that we were doing, taking time to research how to be better gardeners, how to raise chickens in a more efficient way, how to raise other meat to fill our freezer. And once we were able to slow down and really hone in our craft, then we started seeing noticeable gains. So we are trying to savor all the time that we can with these guys because they're headed to the butcher next weekend. And that's always a little bit bittersweet because we do love them, but we understand ultimately they have to end up in our freezer. They've been really good pigs, and we're switching breeds next year. We're gonna start raising a different breed of pig. These ones grow out a little bit slow for us, and we really don't want to be raising pigs through the winter time. So we want something that we can start in the spring, finish in the fall, and just not have the stress and the hassle in the winter. But they've been really solid. They're super tame and friendly pigs. We don't even have to energize this electric fence. We did early on to kind of train them, but now they don't test it or anything. They've been awesome. And that's really another example of not being afraid to try something new. So we tried this breed, and we're glad that we did. And we learned from it that we want to go with something that grows faster and puts the meat in our freezer quicker. So we do try to utilize every single part of the animal, not just the meat, but we use the manure too, and we're collecting the rest of it today to use in our garden. We're gonna be adding a whole other large garden next year, and we wanna use this area right here just because it's a wide open, flat space. We realize that these trees are way too tall and they block the sunlight for a lot of the day. So we actually had someone come out today and give us a quote on removing them. So we're gonna take out a decent amount of trees through here to give us plenty of sunlight, and then we should be able to have a second huge garden right here.
As we look back at videos even as recent as last year, we have to acknowledge the amazing memories we've built with these pigs. Just because they'll ultimately end up feeding our family doesn't mean we don't recognize the piece of our hearts they've earned. We took care of their mother when they were born, we protected them as they grew, and we'll never forget the joy they gave us and the love we feel for them. Reflecting on the past doesn't just point out our mistakes, it gives us gratitude for the journey and how far we've come. Sure, we're still not perfect, but we're a little bit better than we were last year, and every year will serve as a reminder of the progress we've made and the beauty of the journey we took to get there. Oh yeah, and we're doing another giveaway. All you have to do to enter is just post a comment below stating where you're from and what you learned today. The winner will receive a package of products crafted right here on our farm.